President Uhuru Kenyatta has announced that his government will digitize all land records going forward. In his 7th State of the Nation address, President Kenyatta has directed the Ministry of Education to within 14 days announce the 2021 academic calendar. President Kenyatta acknowledges mental health as a global crisis and directs the Ministry of Health to establish specialized institutions for mental health as well as an upgrade of Mathare Hospital to an ultra-modern facility.
We are live on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter at Switch TV Kenya. Keep on sending your feedback to our SMS line 111 and a link on Wambogu on all my social media handles and at Switch TV Kenya. On to our top stories tonight. President Uhuru Kenyatta, during the State of the Nation address today, has stressed the urgent need to upscale universal healthcare so as to tame coronavirus. This happens as 919 people test positive for COVID-19, while 23 patients have succumbed to the virus in the past 24 hours, raising the death toll to 1,289. Samuel Namukana reports.
Kenya's COVID-19 tally stands at 66,723 after 919 people tested positive for the virus in the last 24 hours. President Uhuru Kenyatta, during the State of the Nation address, has said that 23 patients have succumbed to COVID-19, raising the death toll to 1,289 in the last 24 hours.
As of this morning, Thursday, the 12th of November 2020, we have reported a total of 66,723 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in our country, and sadly, also a total of 1,203 deaths since this tragedy fell upon us, out of which we can say that 23 persons succumbed to the disease over the last 24 hours.
In his speech, the president has said that the pandemic had brought to the fore the urgent need to upscale universal healthcare so that no Kenyan will struggle to settle medical bills.
In preparation for a rollout nationwide, I am pleased today to report that the pilot program for universal healthcare was successfully implemented, and out of it, we have isolated critical learning points, enhancements to my administration's health policy priorities going forward.
President Uhuru honored all frontline health workers for their service under tremendous strain and challenging conditions.
We also once again honor and commend all our frontline health workers across the country, and we shall forever be grateful for their service.
The head of state also asked the legislators present in parliament to observe a moment of silence for the 1,289 Kenyans who have succumbed to COVID-19. Samuel Namkana, Switch TV, Nairobi.
I thank you.
Thank you, Samuel Namukana. President Uhuru Kenyatta has confirmed that learners who are still at home will resume classes in January 2021 as agreed earlier. The head of state has also directed the Ministry of Education to issue a new set of building guidelines for schools' infrastructure. Andrew Kero with his story.
Indeed, conscious of the fact that significant financial resources will be deployed towards the construction of at least 12,500 new classrooms and related school facilities.
The president largely covered concerns on the competence-based curriculum, which he said was an exercise not without challenges.
Journey to replace the 844 system with a new fit-for-purpose curricula is well underway, and refinements are being undertaken in the course of implementation.
The commander-in-chief added that Kenya has achieved the 100% transition rate from primary to secondary school for the second year running.
That no child should be left behind, meaning that no child be denied their right to access education.
The president has directed the Ministry of Education and Transport to ensure by January some 12,500 new classrooms Dormitories and other facilities are constructed across the country to mitigate congestion.
Boarding secondary school infrastructure is overstretched. As a result, our students are suffering congestion in both classes and dormitories.
Kenyatta says that even teen matters will have to report back to school by 2021 to continue with their education. Andrew Kero, Switch TV.
Thank you, Andrew Kero, for that story. Moving on, in a bid to address the mental health challenge in Kenya, President Uhuru Kenyatta has ordered for the establishment of an ultra-modern national mental hospital in the country to fight the disease. Joel Chacha now reports.
Kenya is among countries facing funding constraints for mental health services as demand rises sharply due to the COVID-19 pandemic. With the phenomenal increase in mental illness across the country, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, the president today ordered the establishment of an institution to fight the disease.
As a government that cares, I have established an office in the Ministry of Health with the full responsibility of spearheading our national response to this latest disruption to our social order and our nation's wellness.
Uhuru added that the center will offer several services that will greatly impact the mental health sector.
The East Africa's premier mental health facility will be established to offer training, research in psychiatry, specialized psychiatric services, forensic psychiatric services, child and adolescent mental services, and substance abuse related and addictive disorders treatment and rehabilitation services.
The president also directed the elevation of the Mathare National Teaching and Referral Hospital as a semi-autonomous specialized hospital in an effort to holistically deal with the mental illness in Kenya. Joel Chacha, Switch TV, Nairobi.
Thank you, Joel Chacha. President Uhuru Kenyatta's State of the Nation address could not miss political and 2022 alterations at a time when the country is facing heightened political temperatures. As Daniel Kariuki reports, a possible Raila-Ruto marriage could be brewing as President Kenyatta called on leaders to reach out to each other to ensure peace prevails.
At the beats of this song, Kenan beckoned with Raila Odinga being the Joshua of the day. Today, the Moses has surfaced.
Like Moses in the Bible, who sat at the top of Mount Nebo and saw the future that the people of Israel were about to cross into the promised land, I too have seen our future.
In his State of the Nation address earlier today, President Uhuru Kenyatta has reiterated the Building Bridges Initiative report provides a long-term solution to pressing challenges that continue to hold the country back from progress.
More importantly, let us continue to address ourselves to these issues with a view to effecting far-reaching changes that will address the perennial challenges that we have faced as a nation. The challenges of negative ethnicity, inclusion, equitable development, and indeed our fight against corruption.
If the story of Moses in the Bible is anything to go by, then President Uhuru Kenyatta has declared that he is no longer interested in any political office come 2022. Since Moses of the Bible died on the mountain and it's Joshua who got the Israelites to the promised land. Then, question is, who is this Joshua? David Kagina, Switch TV, Nairobi.
Many apologies, that was David Kagina. Now we move to Daniel Kariuki. After a 3-year pause, the journey to Canaan resumes. President Kenyatta, in his State of the Nation address, has today declared himself Moses on the mountain. Take a look.
Wages of bad politics is the people suffering and ruin.
President Uhuru Kenyatta, the presidential State of the Nation address, hinted out at a possible Raila-Ruto marriage, saying the leaders should reach out to each other to foster peace in the nation. Kenyatta saying this at a time when the nation is facing heightened political temperatures as the 2022 general elections near.
That elections alone cannot bring peace and unity to a divided people. For that, leaders must reach out to each other and build bridges over turbulent waters to allow the people to cross into safety and prosperity.
Kenyatta, however, cautioned the youth from being misguided by politicians to bring violence along ethnic lines.
We are witnessing the escalating conflicts being caused by ethnicized and regionalized competition for political power.
Particular matter.
Deputy President William Ruto and leader of opposition Raila Odinga were among the invited leaders present. Among them included Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka and various cabinet secretaries. Daniel Kariuki for Switch TV.
Broadcasting Unit.
Thank you very much, Daniel Kariuki. President Uhuru Kenyatta has disclosed that his government is in the final stages of installing the Likoni floating bridge, which is at 824 meters long at a cost of 1.96 billion shillings. It will be the first automated floating bridge in the country.
The Likoni floating bridge, an 824-meter long bridge costing 1.9 billion, that will be the first automated floating bridge in Kenya. The Likoni floating bridge will help to decongest ferry transport at the Likoni Channel in the context of the COVID-19 safety concerns and beyond, by providing a safe pedestrian connectivity from Liwatoni on Mombasa Island to Ras Bofu on the Likoni mainland.
With our story, we now take a short commercial break. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more. Welcome back and thank you for keeping it Switch TV. We are live on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter at Switch TV Kenya. Send in your feedback to our SMS 111 and at Lincoln Wambogo on all my social media handles. President Uhuru Kenyatta has announced that his government will digitize all land records to fully restore land sanctity in the country with the formulation of the Sectional Properties Bill that will bring legal currency to the ownership of sectional properties in the country. According to President Kenyatta, the formulation of the Sectional Properties Bill is at its final stage and will soon be introduced to Parliament for passage. Take a look.
Speaking during the State of the Nation address in Parliament, President Kenyatta has called upon all stakeholders and Law Society of Kenya to support the positive transformation that will digitize land records in the country.
And in particular, the Law Society of Kenya to embrace and support this positive transformation that removes land information management in Kenya from its current 19th century system and standards to those that are more appropriate to the 21st century.
According to President Kenyatta, 4.5 million title deeds have been issued since 2013, with 15,000 title deeds expected to be issued next year to Samburu County.
But up to early this month, my government has issued over 10,000 new titles in Samburu County, and by January of next year, we are on course to have issued a further 15,000 title deeds.
Digitizing land records in the country under information system will ease land access and reduce land cost and insecurity. Emmanuel Terer, Switch TV.
Thank you, Emmanuel Terer, for that story. President Uhuru Kenyatta has called for regional handshake to promote peace. The head of state said the state of national security will remain strong as long as all leaders in the region will practice inclusive and sober politics. Uhuru said many neighboring countries today need a handshake because they practice politics in which competition is not turned into empty talk and walk.
And while we celebrate the state of our national security, we must also recognize that our region is increasingly unstable. We are witnessing the escalating conflicts being caused by ethnicized and regionalized competition for political power. As has always been the case, we, as a country, are working hard to support peace and reconciliation processes where they are needed the most. We seek to export our peace and pragmatism to our region, knowing that success in our region will further secure our nation.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has underscored the government's commitment to supporting the development of technical institutions, saying the country's future lies in technical and vocational education and training. The president emphasized that TVETs will equip the youth with requisite skills that will enable them to use their hands and their God-given talents to secure gainful employment in the increasingly competitive job environment.
It has taken considerable effort on the part of my administration to educate both parents and young people that there is a viable education pathway for Form 4 leavers who do not achieve the necessary grades to pursue university programs. This pathway is anchored on the technical and vocational training program. Today, I'm proud to report that we have so far enrolled 430,598 students in 182 technical and vocational training colleges across the country. The curricula for these institutions has been developed in partnership with industry stakeholders in varied sectors of our economy, ranging from the automotive industry, oil and gas, maritime and shipping, to agro-processing.
Meanwhile, 1.5 million Nairobians are living in hunger. This is from a food security assessment carried out in informal areas within Nairobi. Speaking at KICC, the Cabinet Secretary of Labour, Simon Chelugui, has reiterated that there should be an enhancement of social protection safety net to meet the vulnerable and the less privileged during this pandemic period. Nyakundi Calvin with this report.
The Social Protection Conference held today at KICC addressed issues on food security, improved housing and education in schools during this pandemic period.
This has now been exacerbated by COVID-19, not forgetting that Kenya has also had other emergencies, for example, the floods, the desert locusts, which are even coming back again, and have continuously put many communities in a vulnerable state.
According to Kenya Red Cross Society Secretary General Dr. Asha Mohammed, different initiatives have been put forward by local stakeholders in order to reach the less privileged in the country.
We have been one of the strong national societies in advocating that providing relief in kind is not sustainable, but also does not give the people affected the dignity they deserve, and also does not give them choices.
The deputy of the European Union delegation in Kenya says that a lot of support from the government is needed in order to attain the social security goals.
How can you sort of more systematically ensure that you're not leaving anybody behind? And that can be unemployment insurance, that can be medical insurance, all of those sort of issues that help in whatever crisis happens.
In the informal settlements, we rapidly deploy surveys, we rapidly collect information on what are people's food insecurity levels, what are their income levels, what are the challenges that they're actually facing, so we can best address them.
The social protection and economic inclusion aims at further enhancing the delivery of services and shock safety nets to poor and vulnerable communities in Kenya, especially during this COVID-19 period and in future. Nyakundi Kelvin, Switch TV.
Thank you, Nyakundi Kelvin, for that story. It's now time to delve into the world of commerce with Clifford Ndubi.
Hello and welcome. It's time for business. Good evening. My name is Clifford Ndubi. If you are the youth, if the youth are given a chance and a sense of national importance, they will own the country and guard it jealously as active shareholders. This is according to President Uhuru Kenyatta in his address to the nation today. Further, the president reiterated that his government objectives has been to shift the young people from being earners of wages to owners of capital. Will this close the gap between the rich and the poor? Let's listen in. The IMF, in its Sub-Saharan Africa Regional Economic Outlook, forecast that the new gross government debt will rise from 50.4% of the GDP in 2019 to 56.6% of the GDP in 2020. Although Nigeria and South Africa, which are the two largest economies in Africa, are excluded. Zambia leads the pack of countries whose ratio of debt to GDP surpasses 100% in 2020, including Angola, Cape Verde, Republic of Congo, Eritrea and Mozambique. Research indicates that a rise in government debt above 90% of the GDP is associated with dramatically worse growth outcomes. All the 6 nations with a government debt stock of over 100% of the GDP have had to or are seeking debt restructuring, with the exception of Cape Verde. For many Right, we do apologize for that technical hitch, but however, that story will be coming to you later. Through the implementation of 23 contracts for the last mile connectivity project funded by both the African Development Bank and the World Bank, households will be connected utilizing 5,320 existing distribution transformers across the 47 counties at a cost of 13.5 billion shillings. AFDB will cover 87%, while the government of Kenya will provide 13% of the total amount. This project involves 15 contracts for works spread across the country. This is what the president had to say about this project in his State of the Nation address.
The last mile connectivity program crossed the 7.2 million household connections mark, that the country is proceeding well towards our aspiration of 100% universal electricity access by 2022. We have also completed a national geospatial mapping exercise that has allowed us to catalog the wealth of our natural resources. It will also enable us to improve the management and use of land, the essential but finite resource that we share as a nation.
Elsewhere, rehabilitation work spearheaded by the Coast Development Authority (CDA) on the Mwache Multipurpose Dam project site in Kwale County is gathering pace. The construction works of the much-awaited mega water project, co-funded by the World Bank and the Kenya government to tune over 20 billion shillings, is expected to begin in March 2021. The construction of the Mwache Dam project is meant to harness the flood flows for Mwache River Basin in Kinango sub-county and help tackle persistent water shortage in the coastal region.
The Coast Development Authority, being among the partners which are implementing this project, was tasked to implement the catchment conservation of Mwache. And in catchment conservation activities, we are concentrating on 4 thematic areas. These thematic areas include: one is the tree plantation or reforestation of the already degraded Mwache catchment area. And as you see, what we did for the last 1 year, you can see that tree seedlings have already now grown up. Over 250,000 seedlings were planted within the catchment areas.
We have poor farming methods or activities in the locals, so we try to educate them on better farming methods. This in mind is that we have very many tributaries or some small rivers, and even on the main rivers. The community to some areas do their farming up to the riverbanks. This we want to discourage by riparian marking, so that we give a certain distance from the river where no agricultural activities are undertaken.
All right, did you know that for the first time since independence, and that is 1963, Kenya has paid its all debt that the UK owed us. Now, I thought you should know that. That's all we had for you from the business world. Now it's time for sports.
Thank you, Clifford Dubie. It's now time for sports. Following the 1-1 draw posted by Harambee Stars against Comoros in their African qualifiers doubleheader, Stars captain Victor Wanyama still believes that the team will post great results ahead of Sunday's return match in Comoros.
No, it's tough because najua kuna wachezaji wengi wale walikuwa wanafaa pia kucheza, walikuja jana usiku. Wengine traveling imekuwa difficult. Wengine pia sisi tuliingia asubuhi jana, so kutrain na timu imekuwa ngumu. Kupata hiyo chance kutrain na team, but also pia fatigue imekuwa pia kidogo. Tumekuwa a bit rusty, that's why first half month are slow, but hopefully away to
One of the stories, betting firm Betika have issued their sentiments on the Harambee Stars sponsorship bid in the match against Comoros. However, the firm have stated their intentions of stretching a helping hand, especially when football in Kenya resumes, mostly targeting the National Super League.
Sisi tunaangalia mambo ya michezo Kenya na tunaangalia kwamba michezo iko katika kiwango gani, tunaweza ingia namna gani kama sponsors ili kuhakikisha tunainua kiwango cha mchezo katika hii nchi. So tukapata fikra kusema ya kwamba tuangalie michezo huko mashinani, tuangalie hapa katikati katika divisions, alafu pia tuangalie mpaka huko ambapo timu kubwa yetu ya Kenya Harambee Stars. Na tukasema tutawashika mkono.
Elsewhere, Brentford striker Marcus Forss scored as Finland claimed a famous win over world champions France. Forss and debutant Oni Valakari struck twice in the space of 3 first-half minutes to stun the hosts.
Full of confidence following their 2-1 win over World Cup runners-up Croatia in their last match, when they welcomed Finland to the start of France on Wednesday night in an international friendly. They were expected to boss their opponents, whom they had beaten in all 8 of their previous encounters prior to this match, and extend their undefeated streak to 13 games. The home side did most of the attacking play from the start of the clash, and they were close to scoring the opening goal on a number of occasions. Finland were lucky not to be trailing after Marcus Thuram hit the crossbar.
Portuguese maestro Cristiano Ronaldo moved one goal closer to the all-time international goal-scoring record in men's football as Portugal thrashed Andorra's 7-0. Ronaldo scored his 102nd goal for Portugal with a powerful header. The striker is now 7 goals behind the Iran's early days record.
In an international friendly in Lisbon, and the Portuguese had no problems in finding the back of the net early. Pedro Neto gave the European champions a 1-0 lead in the Wolves striker's first senior international match. A second Portuguese debutant soon got his name on the scoresheet for the first time. Paulinho, who touched in from the...
Well, that sports story wraps up our news broadcast tonight. Many thanks for watching. Tipping Point with Frederick Mutiriri is up next. I am Lincoln Ombogwa, our sign language interpreter.